house where no one sleeps.
I wasn't planning on going back. It had been 7 years since I last visited the village where I spent nearly every summer with my grandmother. A forgotten little corner on the edge of a forest and swamp, about an hour's drive from the nearest city. There's barely any signal there, and internet, only if you catch it on top of the well, and even then, only during a full moon, the locals joked. But after a nervous breakdown, therapy sessions, and what happened with Masha? The doctor recommended a change of scenery. Go somewhere safe, familiar. So I went, in June. Grandma met me at the gate. Same gray sweater, same neatly tied scarf. But her eyes, glassy, as if she was looking through me. "You don't sleep at night, do you?" she asked, skipping greetings. I was surprised but nodded. "No one sleeps here," she said quietly and turned away, walking into the house. Day 1. The house smelled exactly the same as in childhood. Dried herbs, old wood, and something sour bitter, like wet ashes. Everything in the kitchen was in its place, even the fridge magnet with a broken leg. I unpacked and tried to relax. In the evening, over tea, Grandma said strange things. Don't open the windows after sunset. If you hear knocking on the door, don't answer. And most importantly, don't trust the mirrors. They like to lie around here. I smiled, attributing it to age. But then night fell. Day 2. I woke up to someone standing beside my bed, a shadow, human-like, tall with a bent spine, as if the bones folded the wrong way. I screamed, turned on the light. No one. Grandma was asleep in the next room. I could hear her breathing. In the morning, I tried to convince myself it was a dream, a hallucination, stress. But in the hallway mirror, I saw something. When I turned away, the reflection kept staring. I saw it in the corner of my eye. I turned the mirror to face the wall. Grandma walked past, saying nothing. Day 3. I went into the forest, like I used to, but the trail we used for mushroom picking seemed different. The trees grew closer together. The air was too thick, and I constantly felt someone walking behind me. I turned. No one. At the edge of the woods stood an old well. I didn't remember it. I stepped closer and heard someone quietly calling my name. A woman's voice, so familiar. "Masha?" I blurted. Inside, only darkness. I ran. Day 4. Grandma didn't leave her room. I heard her talking to herself. Or not to herself? I peeked in. She was sitting in front of a mirror, speaking softly, but the voice that answered wasn't hers. That night I woke up to tapping on the window, the second-story window, and a voice. "Open up. It's me. Masha." I got up, approached. Outside the glass, a silhouette. Too tall, too elongated. It had no face. I collapsed to the floor and shut my eyes. When I opened them, nothing. Day 5. I found an old photo album. In one picture, me and Grandma. But her face was different, younger. But the eyes, the same glassy eyes. On the back, a note. Petya and Vera. 1989. My grandmother's name was Anna. I went to a neighbor's house to check. An old man opened the door, looked at me in horror. You burned in that house 5 years ago." He slammed the door. The final night. The house had changed. Hallways longer, rooms darker, mirrors turning to face me on their own. I found Grandma in the basement. She stood by a wall covered in dozens of eyes, real eyes, all watching me. She turned. "You remember now?" she asked. And I did. Masha, the fire, screaming, smoke. I tried to save her, but I ran out alone. Or did I? The mirrors lit up, and in each, me, in different poses, different emotions, one screaming, one crying, one smiling. And the one in the center said, "You stayed here. Back then. We were just waiting for you to come back." The house shut itself. From the outside, inside, only silence. And Grandma, who was no longer Grandma. And me, the one who no longer sleeps.
While you sleep.
Jason opened his eyes. Faded morning light filtered through the curtains. Somewhere in the kitchen, dishes clinked softly. Mom was making breakfast. He yawned, stretched, and sat up in bed. Everything looked normal, familiar, safe. Jason rubbed his eyes and stepped barefoot onto the cold floor. He walked into the hallway expecting the smell of pancakes or toast. But as he turned the corner, he stopped. Silence. The kitchen was empty, lights off. He called out, once, twice. "Mom?" Nothing. Jason walked back to his room and froze. Someone was lying in his bed. He stepped closer. The figure looked exactly like him. Same pajamas, same messy hair. It was him, sleeping. Jason's heart pounded. The other him opened its eyes. Jason screamed and woke up. Morning light filtered through the curtains. Dishes clinked in the kitchen. He yawned, stretched. Just a dream. That's all. He got up and went to the hallway. This time the lights were on. Soft music played on the radio. He smiled. Then he saw the clock. Tuesday, 7:13 a.m. He blinked. The same time as before. Jason turned the corner. No one in the kitchen. He ran back to his room. Empty. No one in bed. He turned to the mirror. His reflection didn't move. It just stared, then smiled. Jason screamed and woke up. This time it was snowing. The light through the window was pale. He didn't remember it snowing last night. Something about the air felt wrong. Thicker, like the room was holding its breath. He stayed in bed, eyes wide. The mirror slowly fogged up. From the inside, words began to form in the condensation. "Wake up!" He jumped up, ran to the door. It wouldn't open. He turned back to the bed. It was occupied. Another him, pale and still. Jason screamed and woke up. Now he was crying. The sunlight was too bright. The house was too quiet. This time the hallway stretched too long. He walked for what felt like 10 minutes. At the end, the front door. He opened it. Outside or nothing. No street, no sky, just white. And then he saw them. Figures, hundreds, all motionless. All like him. They whispered in unison, "Still sleeping, still sleeping, still sleeping." He screamed and woke up. Jason opened his eyes. A woman sat beside his bed, holding his hand. She looked tired but kind. "Hey, sweetheart," she said softly. "You're safe. You were in a coma, but you're awake now." Tears filled his eyes. "Is this real?" She nodded. He smiled through the tears. Then he saw the window, the snow, and was falling upward. And the woman's reflection didn't move. He didn't scream this time. He just closed his eyes and didn't wake up again.